sonra birbirimizi almayı hakkında alıp yoksa bakmışlar.
Ülvi, uşaqları belə strictly şeylə ki, hamısını qabağa otursunlar, gəldikcə oturacaq. Kim şey olubsa gəlib sözə otursun. Çünki 9:35-dir, 5 dəqiqəyə başlayaq.
Okay, ये होना.
Ülvi, bir də mənim telefonumu otaqda uşaqların birini göndər, mənim telefonumun sonrasına gəlsin.
These are yesterday. They were pretty
If you
good.
don't want to speak too loud, like these are like broadcast mics for like these kind of spaces. Gauge it out, something without. It just depends on how loud you want it.
ठीक है.
Sir.
Test. Test. Camran. Camran, ses normal.
Sorry.
Good morning, distinguished delegates, esteemed academicians, and dear students. It's a great honor for us to host such significant event as a Baku State University. It is especially meaningful for me because I am alumni of this university. Today, we will discuss the Amritsar massacre and atrocities conducted by Indian government against Sikhs, which over the past 40 years expanded into forms of transnational repression around the world. During the conference, we will have the opportunity to examine the role of international law in addressing such form of transnational repressions. Dear participants, for last 5 months of a cooperation with International Sikh Federation, Baku Initiative Group successfully organized 2 international conferences dedicated to such important issues as transnational reparations, discriminations against ethnic minorities in India, and also protection of human rights and the role of international organizations in the protection of indigenous people's rights, ethnic minorities' rights, and human rights. In addition, we jointly prepared and published the report which disclosed during the 61st session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. I firmly believe that our collaboration with International Sikh Federation will make a meaningful contribution to the protection of ethnic minorities' rights and human rights. And now I would like to give the floor to the event's moderator, the great person who has dedicated his life to the legitimate struggle for Sikhs, Mr. Moninder Singh. Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate everyone's attendance at this event. It's a global event for the Sikh people in this first week of June to remember the events of 1984 in Amritsar. Before starting with my opening address, I'd like to actually point out that the Sikh people have a deep tie to this land of Azerbaijan and to Baku in particular. That we've had historical religious figures, travelers, traders that have actually walked through this land. We have inscripted work that's actually at the Shgaz Fire Temple in our language in Punjabi as well. So there's actually a deep-rooted historical tie as well to Azerbaijan. And we welcome the opportunity to work with the people here on important global issues that are reshaping the world right now. Very quickly, the world is changing. Geopolitical ties are shifting. And the world isn't what it was even 2 years ago, and it won't be what it is today 2 years from now. Finding new partners, finding solidarity, finding a way in which the world can coexist peacefully seems to be the challenge at hand globally. And as young people in university, moving towards reshaping the world as your generation takes control, it is more vital now than ever to look at who are the people that you can stand with, who are historical peoples that you've had ties with, and where will you find peace aside from people that want to occupy you, want to take your resources, want to utilize your land, and then enslave you or occupy you in some way. And those are things that all people around the world, especially those that are vying for their freedom, like the Sikh people, are trying to recognize with solidarity partners around the world. Today we gather not only to remember June 1984 as a historical event, and June 1984 was an attack on Darbar Sahib, which is the holiest Sikh shrine in the world in Amritsar in Punjab. We also are here to ensure that none of these types of atrocities occur in the future, not only for the Sikh people, but for all people around the world. In Azerbaijan, you have something of a significance around remembering Black January. When your people were fighting for their freedom, Hundreds of your people died. Hundreds more were injured. But within a year or two, you were able to establish your own sovereignty and freedom by breaking away from Soviet rule. The only difference between where you stand today and where we are today might just be the fact that our struggle continues for freedom, our fight continues, and you have been able to establish a country, a way of life, protection of your heritage, your culture, your language, and we still vie to do those same things today. There is not much difference between your struggle and our struggle. The only difference that it might be is that ours is taking decades longer. Our struggle now is entering a phase where we are either going to be potentially by the Indian state, what they want is our complete annihilation, physically as a people, or our assimilation, the destruction of our language, our culture, our heritage, and our faith. And that is something that no Sikh will stand by idly. We would rather be dead than to allow that to happen. And each generation of Sikhs since 1984 has done that. I think in our opportunity to approach you today, the opportunity lay in building bridges, finding new ways and paths forward, building partnerships around real ways that our communities can actually have conversations and dialogue. And one thing that we've been in Baku multiple times now in the last 5 to 6 months, and one thing we can legitimately say is that we have been welcomed here. We have been given an opportunity to have dialogue at the highest levels of government, in academia, with NGOs like the Baku Initiative Group. We have been given respect and dignity to have these conversations on those platforms. And that is something that goes a long way for a people that is seeking freedom. It goes a long way for where you have a country as strong and powerful as India claims to be, where they use misinformation and disinformation to paint people that look like us or the Sikh people in general as extremists and terrorists across the world. India's transnational repression is not just limited to 40 years ago. In the most recent days, you can actually look at yourselves and see that India has crossed borders, crossed oceans. They have come into countries like Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, Europe, and Australia, where Sikh populations live in large diasporas. We have 30 million Sikhs globally. Approximately 5 to 6 million live in the diaspora, primarily the Five Eyes countries, and almost 20 to 25 million Sikhs that reside in the Punjab region of what is now the modern-day India. And we say the modern-day India because India in and itself never existed. It is a British colonial construct. There was no India before 1947. It was a union of states or federal states that existed in cohesion and relative peace with one another before the British project actually consolidated it. And now you have something that's happening in India under Narendra Modi's rule, which is basically one nation, one faith, one flag under a Hindutva regime, which is a right-wing extremist regime in India, almost to the point where you could call it fascist. These things are extremely important to recognize as India tries to present itself to the world as the world's largest democracy, and that veil needs to be ripped off. Our work in the United Nations, in our international agencies, and amongst global partners in solidarity is showing that India is not what it claims to be. If it was, it would not have committed transnational repression, assassinating Sikh leaders Avtar Singh Khanda and Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada and the UK respectively in 2023, where one of our leaders, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, in our place of worship was gunned down in the parking lot by 2 masked gunmen, and afterwards the Prime Minister of Canada had to state that it was the government of India that was behind this assassination, and all diplomatic ties between Canada and India broke off. I think seeing India for what it is really important at this time, because in your regional development here, without getting into the politics, and others can explain it better, India is a player in this region. India may have connections and links to those that might be thinking that Azerbaijan as a country is not in their best interest. And India may be in support of those countries as well. So India is not just a regional player, India is definitely a global player, and they use their global influence through trade and economics to exert pressure, threats, and coercion on other countries and other peoples to silence them. So in closing, I would like to point out that our purpose here over the next few hours in our panel discussions is not only to unveil to you the events of 1984, it's also to express to you the Sikh people, their way of life, our connection historically to Azerbaijan, and how 1984 has shaped generations of Sikhs like me, who was born and raised in Canada, and yet I have a deep connection to my land, my people, my language, my heritage, and my faith that is based, what we would say right now, in an occupied territory in what is now northern India. And I think that will actually show you, as a generation that's coming forward, that there is a deep connection that you can have with Sikh youth across the world, because we understand struggle, we understand resilience, we understand loss, we understand trauma, we understand genocide, we understand extrajudicial violence, all the things that the people of Azerbaijan for well over 100 years had to exist under as well. And those are common ties of humanity that allow us to bind together in order to fight injustice and ensure that people have the right to self-determination and sovereignty globally. At this time, I would like to introduce the opening remarks from Mr. Shaheen Panahov, who is a prominent Azerbaijani educator, environmental scientist, and current vice rector for international relations at Baku State University. He's a two-time Fulbright scholar and also previously worked as dean at Azerbaijan State Pedagogical University. So I would like to introduce Mr. Panahov for opening remarks, and then we will start with our panels. Thank you.
Representing here Baku State University. I will speak on behalf of Baku State University. Thank you. Dear Mr. Singh, dear Mr. Abbasov, distinguished participants, esteemed colleagues, valued guests, dear students and representatives of media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Sabahınız hayır. On behalf of Baku State University, cradle of all higher education institutions in Azerbaijan, established in 1919 by the fathers of nation during Azerbaijan Democratic Republic, and its rector, distinguished Dr. Elchin Babayev, I extend my warm greetings to all of you. We are honored that our university is hosting this important international conference. The tragic events of Amritsar in 1984, exactly 42 years ago, are not merely a chapter in one nation's history. They are also a subject of global discussions in the context of international law, human rights, and the protection of ethnic and religious minorities. These events remind us that demand and justice and recognition transcends national borders and appeals to the conscience of humanity as a whole. At Baku State University, we believe that the mission of higher education institution is not limited to the transmission of knowledge and skills. It also includes contributing to the strengthening of peace, the safeguarding of cultural identity, and the defense of human rights. Holding this conference in our university's auditorium with the participation of our students will serve as a powerful lesson from recent history for the younger generation. Today, the scholars, diaspora representatives, national and international NGO activists, and the public figures gathered here will engage in discussions that share not only the pains of the past, but also the hopes for the future. We are confident that this dialogue will further draw the attention of international organizations and parliaments, paving the way for new initiatives in the protection of minority rights. We have no doubt that this conference will be not only an academic exchange, but also a manifestation of collective will in the name of justice and peace. At the end, on behalf of Baku State University, I wish all participants fruitful discussions and express our gratitude to the organizers of this international conference. Thank you for your attention and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Panov, for your very heartfelt and the commentary right now is deeply emotional and intellectual for the people that are in the Sikh community. And I think over the course of the next few hours, you'll see why, as we expand on what actually happened in 1984 and why that is still a living issue till today. We don't ever believe that what happened in 1984 actually ended in 1984. There's a continuation of that genocidal violence from 1984 that has continued on to the present day. Before we move into the first part of our first panel, I'd like to thank Baku Initiative Group for preparing a video remembrance for June 1984, which we'll play now, and then we'll move into our first panel with our panelists, and I'll conduct the introductions as we go. But if we could have the video play now, and then we'll move into the actual panel. Thank you.
In June 1984, the Indian state sent its army into Sri Darbar Sahib, the most central sovereign space of the Sikh people. The assault was not limited to Amritsar. More than 75 other gurdwaras across Punjab were also attacked, turning sacred Sikh spaces into sites of military occupation and state violence. The Indian state called it Operation Blue.